Thank you very much for coming to session 2, ladies and gentlemen. In plenary session 2, we will hear from 8 keynote speakers about Beyond Digital Divide Towards Global Prosperity. We were supposed to have representatives from Kenya and India in this session, but they're not going to be with us today. Now let us begin plenary session 2 of the Seoul Conference on Cyberspace 2013. All speakers are given 7 to 8 minutes for the presentation, and once again, we cordially ask you to keep the time. First, I am honored to introduce to you His Excellency Surapong Tobichak Chaikul, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Thailand. Please give him a warm round of applause.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon. It is indeed a pleasure and honor for me to join all of you here in Seoul for the 3rd edition of the Conference on Cyberspace. I wish to firstly thank the Republic of Korea for coming up with the pertinent themes and for the excellent arrangements in hosting this event. May I also commend the United Kingdom and Hungary as previous hosts for having spearheaded dialogue and greater interaction among policymakers and practitioners on the ever-expanding role of cyberspace in national and global development. Ladies and gentlemen, in this day and age, many of us cannot imagine life without access to information and communications technology, or ICT. Digital technology and the internet has brought about profound changes to the political, economic, and social development of nations, and more importantly, to the daily lives of us individuals. We have seen, for instance, how social media has connected like-minded people as never before. It is a powerful tool in creating greater awareness of information, rights, and freedoms, which can lead to political and social changes beyond imagination. A recent phenomenon which comes to mind is the Arab Spring. However, despite the great advance in digital technology, the disparity in development still exists, and to me, seems to have widened. Let us recall that our leaders at the turn of this century came up with the Millennium Development Goals, or MDGs, precisely to close the development gap. The MDG targets are supposed to lift our peoples out of poverty and for them to enjoy decent living. However, with less than 855 days away from the target date of MDGs, we still have a long way to go in achieving the goals. Much of this seemingly widening development gap stems from the prevailing digital divide. Ladies and gentlemen, history has proven that development is very much based on innovation and technology. As we gear up for the post-2015 development agenda, bridging the digital divide remains a huge challenge and should therefore be a top priority, for no one should be left behind. We must carry on with efforts to achieve the unmet MDG targets while moving towards sustainability through both domestic and international cooperation. And the most effective way to do so is for us to stay connected through an open and secure cyberspace. Sharing of ideas through digital technology can therefore a game-changer for national development. Today, however, the question is not so much about how to provide people with access to digital technology. It is more about how people derive benefits from access to digital information. The ability to meaningfully use and apply the digital contents will help spur economic growth and sustainable development. For Thailand, we are building resources both in terms of access to technology and developing useful electronic contents. We are constantly upgrading telecom services, including providing the latest generation mobile data, greater availability of wireless access points, and affordable smart devices. My government is committed to expanding public Wi-Fi services and broadband internet coverage in order to help bridge the digital divide and to prepare ourselves for an emerging ASEAN community in 2015. We place special emphasis on capacity building projects, particularly human resources development at the grassroots level. For example, Thailand is focusing on ICT development at the basic education level by promoting the One Tablet per Child project in order to support universal access to information and greater empowerment for the younger generations. Our priorities also include the development of ICT for disaster management, public health or e-health, and the empowerment of the women, children, the elderly, and the underprivileged. More importantly, Thailand believes that equal access to digital contents will create a truly knowledge-based society. As equipped with the knowledge to effectively use the digital information, the users can help stimulate innovation, enhance productivity, and generate employment, particularly for SMEs. These socio-economic opportunities will contribute to the inclusive growth and sustainable development that we all seek. Ladies and gentlemen, although the Internet and ICT development offer tremendous benefits, we must also be aware of the dangers and security implications of the ever-increasing use of cyberspace. We can ill afford security risks to this global meeting's state of minds. Thailand looks at cybercrime as a transnational threat in the same vein as trafficking in persons and narcotic drugs. In promoting an open and secure cyberspace, we must do our utmost to stop online vice and criminality. Not only does it lead to huge economic costs, but also damaging human costs. Oftentimes, the potential victims and ordinary internet users are lured by criminals such as online scammers, sexual predators, and identity thieves. More often than not, they target victims beyond borders. International cooperation is therefore essential in securing cyberspace. We support regional initiatives and framework to combat cyber threats, whether in the context of ASEAN, APEC, or other forums. Thailand pledges our full cooperation with the international community in this effort. Ladies and gentlemen, before closing, I would like to inform you that Thailand, together with the International Telecommunication Union, will co-host the Connect Asia Pacific Summit on 18 November this year in Bangkok. This will be an important opportunity for leaders of countries in the Asia-Pacific region to foster a shared vision and strategy for creating an inclusive information society in line with the objectives of the World Summit on the Internet Information Society. The Connect Asia-Pacific Summit will be held back-to-back with the ITU Telecom World 2013, which is a world-class exhibition showcasing the latest ICT advances. In closing, I wish to reiterate Thailand's commitment to the joint efforts in bridging the digital divide of our mutual benefit and global prosperity. The more that we share in ideas and experiences, the wider the benefits of our people's well-being. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your words, Your Excellency Surapong Thongvichakchaikul, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Thailand. The next speaker will be His Excellency Boviengkham Bongdara, Minister of Science and Technology of Lao PDR. Please welcome him with a big round of applause.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the delegation of the Lao PDR, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to the government and the people of the Republic of Korea for excellent arrangement made for the conference, as well as for the warm hospitality extended to our delegation. It is a great honor for the Lao PDR to participate in this important conference being conducted under the theme Global Prosperity through an open and secure cyberspace opportunity, trade, and cooperation. Indeed, this event will provide us excellent discussion related to cyber benefit and security, taking into account the interests and concerns shared by public sector, international and private organizations. Ladies and gentlemen, digital divide is gap between people who access the information technology and those who do not. For better or for worse, ICT reduces the distance between not only economy but also culture, people, and idea, globally and locally. Experiment in different modes of ICT enable government and governance. My present a myriad of challenge, as own parties must be willing to make a most appropriate and benefit chain, including chain in the delivery of services and infrastructure, private-public partnership, bureaucracy, the nature of privacy, and most important, the fundamental relationship between own stakeholders. More importantly, we are discovering that there is no one path being applied to all nations to guarantee economic growth in the ICT sector. Not all countries are at a state to exploit the ICT sector as a spearhead sector of the economy. However, given the nature of rapid change in ICT and associated industry, almost anything is possible. Hence, policy and law must not be signaled, but rather fluid to the demand of the maker and appropriate to national capacities in order to ensure sustainable economic growth and competitiveness. Broadly speaking, ICT can be leveraged for wide social and economic benefit if applied to the development goal and priority of the days: poverty elevation, health, education, enterprise, community development, etc. This, above all, is the emphasis we place in policy development. Ladies and gentlemen, being both least developed and landlocked country, the Laopedia is at a critical stage and remains to bridge the digital divide and work toward the achievement of Millennium Development Goal. Laopedia recognizes ICT as an increasingly crucial tool for achieving socio-economic development and are all of the factors of achieve an ultimate goal of graduating from the LDC status by 2020. Laopedia has endorsed the national ICT policies with 9 priority areas, requiring long-term considerations such as human resource development, infrastructure and access, enterprise and industry, research and development, application, legal framework, awareness, poverty alleviation, standardization and localization. This policy aims to ensure that the necessary institutional, human capacity and legal framework are in place for the leveraging the applying ICT to meet the challenges and needs of the countries. Besides, the Lao government is undertaking the national e-government project. The project aims to foster collaboration among government institutes to ensure efficiently and effectively delivery to public services and to enable to the government to be more responsibility to the needs of citizens and the business community. Ladies and gentlemen, although the Laopedia has some progress in the context of digital device, our countries need to build the necessary national information infrastructure, national scientific and technological data center, e-application for sector, increased investment into ICT by both public and private sector, development human resources in order for own effective and secure access, and engaging in most ICT research and development. There is also a need to increase the public awareness and understanding of the role of ICT. Future, promoting IT industry, for example, IT park, is necessary. In conclusion, to bridge the digital divide and toward global prosperity, we do recognize that there is content need to be addressed primarily by the government itself. However, it requires continued support and cooperation from regional and international community. On this note, the Laopedia, with its full commitment to work closely with all countries, regional and international organizations to ensure that the goal and the objective outlined in Seoul Conference of Cyberspace 2013 are fully realized. Thank you.
Thank you for your words, Your Excellency Bovien Kamvongdara, Minister of Science and Technology of Lao PDR. The next speaker will be Executive President of the National Telecom Regulatory Authority of Egypt, Mr. Hesham El Alaili. Please welcome him with a warm round of applause.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Anyun Hasi Yu, I hope I said it right. It is my great pleasure to be with you here this afternoon in Seoul, conference on cyberspace. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Korean administration for their excellent hosting and hospitality. The world's quest for dignity, peace, prosperity, justice, sustainability, and an end to poverty has reached an unexpected moment of urgency, unprecedented moment of urgency. In 2000, the state members of the United Nations agreed on a bold vision for the future. It reaffirmed the fundamental vision for the future. It reaffirmed the fundamental values of freedom, equality, solidarity, tolerance, and respect for the planet and shared responsibility. That vision was enriched in the Billion Declaration rooted in the Charter of the United Nations, recognized the need to consolidate efforts as never before, and to advance on three fronts simultaneously: development, peace, and security, and human rights. Ladies and gentlemen, over 2 billion people across the globe now use the internet. Improving access to discussion, conversation, and information online. Although the number of online users in developing countries doubled between 2007 and 2012, there is still a huge divide in access to the internet. Only 20% of households in developing countries are online, versus 70% of households in developed ones. Although technological advances are making internet access cheaper, bridging the digital divide is still a problem in both developed and developing countries. Thus, ensuring universal access to the internet should be a priority to all states. Ladies and gentlemen, internet access will increase as smartphone access continues to grow, but that growth also relies on increased digital education and literacy. The rise of smartphone is rapidly increasing the number of people online, but there are still international challenges. Although internet access grew by 18% in developing countries over the last year, it has started to level off in developed ones. This means that even though improved and cheaper technology will definitely help diminish the digital gap, states should take steps toward and helping their citizens to get online. We shall not forget that the machine-to-machine as well is also key and important for the development of society. We know that in 2050, we will have more than 50 billion devices will be connected, almost 6 devices per person. Broadband projects and developing the contents are must to reach our ultimate goal. We also know that 10% increase in the broadband would allow to have an increase about 1% in GDP. Ladies and gentlemen, the digital divide is not only about technology, it is also a symptom of much deeper social issues. It is a manifestation of economic and educational gaps that have been existing in those countries long before the microchip and the internet were even invented. The digital divide has simply highlighted these social and economic issues. We believe that the key to bridge the gap is to provide ways for people to understand the potential gains and risks the internet and its related technology present in their lives. It is also essential that the entrepreneurs who are creating the new economy become involved. By doing so, these business leaders will be brought closer together with others in society, benefiting everyone. The gap will be bridged, not only by technology evolving, but also by people sharing knowledge and working together and by improving the whole ecosystem. We should work together on creating policies and framework that encourage people in low-income communities to gain the knowledge and understanding the use of the technology, to change their lives and encourage new economy entrepreneurs to get involved in such activity. Having access to technology and information is a vital first step, but we must go beyond the basics. If we want to make a quantum impact, then we have to spend equal time in helping people to develop their understanding and knowledge to do something of significance for their use and lives. Governments should work on accessibility and affordability, and e-content as well, to ensure effective and efficient penetration of technology into each household. This, we believe, is how developing countries could leapfrog into the new technologies domain. Ladies and gentlemen, cooperation among the international community is key to overcoming the digital divide. We need to share experience, we need to share knowledge that separates poor communities from affluent ones through their lack of access to information and communication technology. And to bolstering development, building the global information society requires extended cooperation between all countries and all sectors of society. Governments should endeavor to share their experience and expertise in bringing the digital gap. At the end, I wish this session would be right opportunity to all of us for fruitful discussions, and its outputs would guide us to benefit from each other's experience in bridging the digital divide and move toward prosperity that we all deserve. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your words, Executive President of the National Telecom Regulatory Authority of Egypt, Mr. Hesham El Alaili. The next speaker will be His Excellency Julian Robinson, Minister of State of Science, Technology, Energy, and Mining of Jamaica. Please welcome him with a warm round of applause.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Developing countries across the world continue to struggle with the issue of the digital divide, or as I would like to coin it, the difference between the e-haves and the e-have-nots. Although this terminology is generally used in discussions regarding ICTs, I would like to limit the discussion to the focus of this conference, which is cybersecurity. In this regard, I speak to 4 specific points. First, strengthening the legislative framework. The importance of legislation in the fight against cybercrimes cannot be overstated. Indeed, the work program for both the Organization of American States and the International Telecoms Union identifies the need for the implementation of legislative measures aimed at preventing certain cyber activities and enabling the investigation and prosecution of same. Yet there remain countries within the Caribbean region, for example, that do not have legislation that focuses on cybercrime or computer misuse. It is not sufficient, however, to simply promulgate legislation. Countries developed and developing alike have to continuously review their legislation to ensure that it appropriately addresses new and emerging cyber threats. So, for example, although Jamaica promulgated cybercrimes legislation much later than many other countries, a provision was built into the legislation which required its review by a joint select committee of the Houses of Parliament 2 years after the date of commencement of that legislation. In keeping with this provision, a joint select committee was established in February of this year to review the act, a committee which I chaired. The committee recently completed its review and submitted a report to the Houses of Parliament with recommendations for amendments. The purpose of the review was to ensure that the act is in line with international best practice, as well as to effectively criminalize emerging types of cyber threats. The committee recommended, among other things, the introduction of new offenses such as forgery, fraud, and malicious communications, as well as significant increase in the penalties, that is, the terms of imprisonment and fines, with a view to signaling to cybercriminals the seriousness with which this issue is being treated. The second area I want to speak to relates to the establishment of what are Computer Incident Response Teams, or CERTs. While the divide between developed and developing countries has narrowed significantly in the area of legislation, it remains with respect to the ability of some countries to respond to cyber incidents and threats through CERTs. It is reported that in 2006, Argentina, Brazil, Canada, Chile, and the United States were the only countries in the Americas with national CERTs. Today, there are over 18 CERTs within the region. However, of that amount, only 2 are in the Caribbean, which comprises over a third of the countries in the Americas. Jamaica's ICT policy of 2011 identifies as a strategy the establishment of a CERT. And to this end, Jamaica has entered into an agreement with the International Telecoms Union to 1, provide technical assistance to establish a national CERT, and 2, to assist in the building and development of related technical capabilities. The ITU, through its impact program, has held consultations with relevant stakeholders and will shortly finalize a readiness assessment report for the establishment of a CERT. It is proposed in the first instance that the services to be offered by the CERT be basic in nature and will develop and evolve over time. To bridge the divide in this area, it is important that countries with greater human and other resources collaborate with developing states, as a chain is as strong as its weakest link. The third area I'd like to speak to is training and capacity building. With the establishment of a CERT, there will be a need for requisite training and skills for the personnel in order for it to be effective. As such, capacity building programs will have to be identified or established. I'm happy to report that there exists in Jamaica, though not in sufficient numbers, a cadre of professionals with the technical know-how to identify, diagnose, and respond to cyber and other digital crimes. The Jamaica Constabulary Force, for example, has a specific unit within its Organized Crime Investigative Division with responsibility for investigating cyber crimes. That unit is called the Communication Forensic and Cybercrime Unit, and the unit is now being reorganized to form its own division. With support from our international and bilateral partners, the unit could be able to collaborate and otherwise share its resources and know-how with other Caribbean and Latin American countries. In the area of prosecution, there also exists within the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions a specialized unit, namely the Digital Evidence and Cybercrime Unit, which is responsible for prosecuting cybercrime incidents and liaising with and supervising police investigations. This notwithstanding, there remains a need for training of other officers of the judicial system, such as our clerk of courts, as most cybercrime incidents are prosecuted in our lower courts, which are our resident magistrate courts. Sensitization of judges and defense counsel is also required. In Jamaica, there are currently no judges that specialize exclusively in cybercrimes, and it is reported that there are significant delays in hearing criminal matters as defense counsel do not appear to be trained in the area of cybercrime. There is also the need to train ICT professionals and officers across the government in cybersecurity, as well as to educate the populace as to the threats to information security from cybercrimes and the potential impact on their lives. The fourth area is policy and strategic framework. The government as policymaker has a responsibility to provide strategic direction and to enunciate policy statements regarding cybercrime to ensure that, 1, there's a standardized approach in both the public and private sectors to cybersecurity issues, and 2, that there is mutual understanding of the problem and the vision for addressing the same. In this regard, there remains a divide between those countries that have adopted comprehensive national strategies and those that have not. While the Jamaican ICT policy identifies a few strategies with respect to cybersecurity, There is at present no written or documented strategy for cybersecurity. Fortunately, with the assistance of the OES, Jamaica hopes to commence work on the development of a strategy by the first quarter of next year. In concluding, ICTs undoubtedly have the potential to enable developing countries to, among other things, create wealth, foster economic growth, facilitate social development, and improve citizens' participation. However, as we become more reliant on ICTs, the issues of security become even more pertinent. The digital divide faced by developing countries such as Jamaica is a clear indication of the arduous task ahead. Our countries must overcome specific issues and challenges to ensure the long-term development of the ICT sector and the reduction of cybercrimes while closing the digital divide. These challenges include, one, the gaps in the level of required skills and capabilities for combating cybercrimes. Two, limited access to capital for strengthening ICT infrastructures to prevent or reduce vulnerability to cybercrimes. And three, the inadequate public awareness regarding the importance of technology and the know-how to prevent or reduce cybercrimes. As we grapple with the increasing problem of cybercrimes, it is imperative that we continue to cooperate at the regional and international levels, with a view to reducing its impact on the prosperity of our citizens and our economies. Our efforts certainly can be enhanced when we find common means to tackle this increasingly problematic issue. Let us continue our efforts in this regard. Thank you.
Thank you for your words, Your Excellency Julian Robinson, Minister of State of Science, Technology, Energy, and Mining of Jamaica. The next speaker will be Legal Advisor to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of China, Mr. Huang Huikang. Please welcome him with a round of applause.
Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I wish you good afternoon. Let me start by expressing our sincere thanks to the government of Republic of Korea for hosting this important conference on cyberspace. The organizing work of the conference is excellent and impressive. The warm hospitality of the host is highly appreciated. Last month, the 2013 ASEAN Regional Forum workshop on cyber security was held in Beijing, co-hosted by China and Malaysia, which demonstrated the efforts to advance the momentum of dialogue and the cooperation in cyber issues at the regional level. Today, after London and Budapest, the third leg of London process is here in Asia, a region with profound historic and cultural heritage, a region with nearly half of the global internet user, and a region with dynamic economy and social development. I believe this will make this conference a big difference. Ladies and gentlemen, the Chinese delegation is very happy to see the Seoul conference devoted its whole plenary session to the issue of beyond digital divider towards global prosperity. We are also inspired by the very fact more countries and delegates are concerned about the issue related to the digital divide. Rather than continue to overemphasize one aspect of the cyberspace, that is protection of the individual freedom online and offline, ignoring the state sovereignty, government's responsibility to issue a sound and balanced cyberspace order, ignoring the necessary regulations and management, ignoring the individual's responsibility as a citizen, and as well ignoring the deadly need to combat cyberspace crime such as fraud, money laundering, drug trafficking, children porn, and others. In addressing the digital divide, a more comprehensive and balanced approach is needed. In this context, I'd like to take this opportunity to share China's view on the issue of cyberspace order, which has drawn wide attention by the international community. In short, the international cyberspace order we envision should be based on harmony, aimed at common progress, and achieved by collective efforts. Firstly, the international cyberspace order we are thinking is harmonious in nature. Our goal is just to build a peaceful, secure, open, and cooperative cyberspace. It is more than just keeping it away from the frame of war, but a more proactive vision of peace and security that seeks to delimit from cyberspace all forms of hot war, cold war, and cool war. We must protect cyberspace as we protect the Earth's environment, so that all nations can live in harmony in cyberspace. We hope cyberspace can be a platform for various countries and the peoples to carry out equal footing, the exchange, and learn from each other. The aspiration, identity, and the value of all nations should receive understanding and respect in cyberspace. The internet must not be allowed to become a tool for promoting culture hegemony, protecting culture colonialism, or smearing other countries' political systems. Essentially, what we are seeking is the rule of law and the democracy in cyberspace. From the legal perspective, while technical standards and industry norms matter most in the early stage of the internet, we need law and regulation to guide its current and future development. The rule of law should become the basic approach to enhancing internet governance and cyber security. The development of internet, I do believe, does not change the international order with the UN Charter as its core. International cyberspace governance must follow the principle of the state sovereignty and non-interference in others' internal affairs, enshrined in UN Charter. This is the cornerstone to establish a just and equitable international order in cyberspace. Furthermore, the principle of non-use of force must be followed. As many previous speakers have emphasized, Internet must be utilized properly and for the peaceful purpose. However, in recent years, there have been too much talk of making exception for cyber warfare or cyber self-defense, while non-use of force principle has been marginalized. The risk of sliding towards the militarization of cyberspace is something the international community must guard against. Democracy in cyberspace is equally important. While it depends on the establishment of international cyberspace management system that is fair, inclusive, and transparent. Every country is a stakeholder in the international regulation of cyberspace and therefore entitled to participating in international internet governance as equals. Any attempt by one or a few countries to monopolize such governance would lack legitimacy and legality. Only institutions enjoying full mandate from the international community can manage the Internet on its behalf and do so in a fair, inclusive, and transparent way. The United Nations is, for the time being, in the best position to undertake this responsibility. This is why the Chinese government stands by the UN as the main platform for discussing international cyber issues. Secondly, the international cyberspace order we are seeking is aimed at common progress. It is well known Internet has become a strategic infrastructure in our societies and therefore changed our way of production and life to a certain extent. China calls for an international cyberspace order that promotes common progress because we recognize our destiny are interlinked. We should attach great importance to an enhanced capacity building in developed countries, narrow down the digital divide, and promote balanced progress in global informationalization. No country should pursue its interests at the expense of others. Instead, countries should accommodate the legitimate concerns of others to pursue common development and progress. In cyberspace, countries should stay united, share responsibility, and pursue common prosperity. Thirdly, the international cyberspace order we are seeking can be achieved only through collective efforts. Only by making sincere collective efforts can we build a harmonious and progressive international cyberspace order, address various challenges and threats in cyberspace, and making the Internet truly serve the mankind. We should conduct cooperation in good faith, not playing games or practicing double standards. It is important that a country with advanced cyber technology set up self-discipline, show more transparency in their policy and action, and take the lead in building international trust. We should encourage equal-footed exchange, cooperation and participation, and oppose the abuse of technology or other advantage to suppress or harm the rights and interests of developing countries. We should promote collectivism and oppose unilateralism. In case of any systematic and large-scale cyber infringement activity that threatens international peace and security, the world should organize a collective response through the UN. Since there are no universal recognized rules for combating cyber crime or an international code of conduct in cyberspace, or an international mechanism for cyber governance, it is required to strengthen international cooperation on the establishment of a new legal rules and regulations. In this regard, the draft International Code of Conduct on Information Security submitted by China, Russia, and others to the UN General Assembly in 2011 can serve a useful basis for relevant international process. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, China is home to the largest community of internet users. We have more than 500 million internet users. The internet has generated many efforts into every aspect of China's economy and society. Recognizing this, the Chinese government and the people would like to work with the international community to shape a harmonious and progressive international cyberspace order and a better future for mankind. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you for your words. Legal advisor to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of China, Mr. Hwang Hui-kang. The next speaker will be Deputy Secretary General of OECD, Mr. Yves Leterme. Please welcome him with a big round of applause.
Thank you very much, Ministers, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Let me first express our thanks to the Korean hosts for their generous hospitality and for organizing this conference and for having the OECD and our work on the agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, it's fair to say that the internet is today an essential infrastructure and a core component of our modern economies. And indeed, over the last 2 decades, internet really changed our lives, our daily lives. Today, billions of people around the world have access to information and are connected to one another in ways that are always more innovative. And this is just the beginning. Wireless connectivity now links objects like GPS devices, vehicles, and even streetlights to the internet. And this is leading to entire interconnected systems that can help countries achieve more important economic and social goals. Some specialists expect the so-called Internet of Things to connect 50 billion mobile wireless devices by 2020. The Internet benefits individuals with a larger variety of digital goods and services, lower prices, a more efficient labor market, positive impacts to the environment, and improvements in health and education. It benefits businesses with improved efficiencies in everything from commercial services to industrial manufacturing and expands global markets. And last but not least, it benefits governments making it easier, much more easier to consult and communicate with citizens and enabling improved delivery of services at reduced costs. Ladies and gentlemen, since the internet produces such broad economic effects, measuring, and our specialty at the OECD is measuring its impact is challenging. However, the 2012 OECD Internet Economy Outlook introduced a new methodology, finding that up to 13% of business sector value added in the United States, for instance, can be attributed to internet-related activities. And employment in the ICT sector has improved too, with the so-called top firms employing more than 14 million people worldwide in 2011, an increase of 6% from 2010. And it's fair to say that this sector, the internet sector, has weathered the crisis very well and is a bright spot as we struggle to recover worldwide. This confirms what policymakers have been starting for quite some time now. The internet is both a source of growth in a period of economic downturn and a core component of the entire economy. Indeed, it is a fundamental infrastructure in its own right. Our organization, the OECD, helps governments develop policies to stimulate the internet economy for the benefit of all. Our approach to international cooperation, which is inclusive of all stakeholders, provides the flexibility and global scalability that is indispensable to address internet policy challenges. 2 years ago, in December 2011, the Ministerial Council of the OECD adopted the so-called Principles for Internet Policy Making. And these principles reflect indeed a consensus view of our 34 member countries, as well as Egypt, Costa Rica, Colombia, and Lithuania. And they have received the support of members of the APEC, the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, and many of you are here today. These principles are the result of a multi-stakeholder consultation with very diverse groups, including policymakers, civil society, businesses, and the technical community. Dear colleagues, these principles call for maintaining an open internet because it is our collective experience that the key to unleashing innovation, creativity, and economic growth lies with openness in a broad sense. Over the years, we've seen the internet grow thanks to its distributed nature, and we have witnessed innovation flourishing without the need for international regulation or treaties. Indeed, an open internet provides the platform to innovate and build a knowledge-based, but many in developing countries still lack high-speed access to relevant content at reasonable prices. And even if the digital divide is shrinking in terms of mobile subscriptions, access to broadband internet via mobile devices really remains a challenge in lots of countries. It is an important challenge, since mobile networks remain the most promising way to expand broadband access in emerging and developing countries. Ladies and gentlemen, before I close, let me caution on behalf of my organization that internet policy making is not easy. Recent revelations about the widespread surveillance of internet activity highlight important policy challenges. And our dependence on the internet raises the stakes in terms of getting the policy environment right, and the current context recalls the importance of transparency and trust in doing so. In closing, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to mention that our next Internet Economy Ministerial in 2016 will offer the opportunity for ministers to discuss how internet policy making can further spur economic growth and how internet innovation can be leveraged to create more and better jobs. And I would hope that, of course, many of the specialists worldwide, many of you, would participate in this important event. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your words, Deputy Secretary General of OECD, Mr. Yves Leterre. The next speaker will be Executive Director of the National Electronic Security Authority of the United Arab Emirates, Mr. Saif Rashid Abdullah Al Nuaimi. Please welcome him with a warm round of applause.
Your Excellencies, distinguished guests and speakers, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I feel very privileged to be here with you during this important global event and to share with you our thoughts and experiences as the United Arab Emirates with regards to our topic today, Beyond Digital Divide Towards Global Prosperity. We can all imagine the exponential growth in the development, spread, and dependency in the use of ICT over the last few decades. There is no doubt ICT has transformed the way we communicate, the way we do our business, and the way we are all living today. By increasingly connecting the world, ICT has brought globalization into a whole new level. The concept of global village is now an everyday reality. Moreover, ICT has been and continues to be a major contributor to reach our Millennium Goals and to bridge the development divide between developed and developing countries. Over the years, ICT has always been part of the solution for our global issues and challenges. This includes the 2008 economic crisis, as well as the planet's challenge of climate change. Accessing cyberspace has become vital, as there is no end to its infinite possibilities and the exciting impact it can have on our future lives. While providing many benefits, the growing dependency on cyberspace has also increased our vulnerability to an evolving set of risks. These natural, man-made, intentional, or unintentional dangers can risk the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information heavily relied upon by governments, businesses, and individuals. Cyber threats are already widespread globally and are developing in impact and sophistication, as confirmed by significant statistics and analysis. This evolving landscape of threat presents imposing challenges to the beneficial use of cyberspace, as well as to the future social and economic development of the world. Confronting the cyber threats is one of the very serious and complex issues of our time. This challenging task is complicated by a number of inherent characteristics of cyberspace, and I'd like to highlight two of them. The first one is interdependencies between systems across a variety of sectors. And what I mean here is that a single incident can initiate a chain reaction that can have a much larger impact than the original event might have had individually. The second challenge is global interconnectivity. And what I mean here is that a cyber incident can instantly and seamlessly transfer from one side of the globe to another, taking full advantage of the weaknesses and deficiencies of cybersecurity capacities across the world. With regards to the second challenge, the United Arab Emirates would like to restate its previous position during the last year's conference in Budapest, in particular about the importance of global cooperation and information sharing to effectively combat our cyberspace threats. Sharing information promptly about newly discovered malware or zero-day vulnerabilities can prevent many incidents from taking place or at least mitigate their impact. Moreover, sharing experiences, lessons learned, and best practices among nations and industries will improve our global deterrence against cyber threats. I'd like to emphasize that whatever improvement in measures is taken at an international level will directly improve national security and vice versa. To protect its government, people, and businesses from cyber threats, and to reap the social and economic benefit of cyberspace, the United Arab Emirates will take steps to increase the security and resilience of its critical information infrastructure, while coordinating efforts with other nations and international partners to increase the security of global cyberspace as a whole. Therefore, and in order to align and direct the national efforts, the United Arab Emirates government has created the National Electronic Security Authority, NISA, whose main mission is to enhance national security by improving the protection of our national information and communications infrastructure through superior technology, expert human capital, and increased public awareness. The UAE government is currently in the process of finalizing and publishing the UAE cybersecurity strategy. The purpose of this strategy is to set the course for achieving the national vision of securing the nation's information and communications. It outlines the strategic areas that the UAE must focus upon to sustain a secure national cyberspace, along with the specific objectives within each focus area and the high-level roadmap for achieving them. In this regard, NISA will collaborate with relevant stakeholders to develop and implement awareness programs and formal education in cybersecurity-related subjects, as well as initiate research and incentive programs to increase the appeal of cybersecurity across the UAE society. Our focus area is to foster collaboration, boosting participation, collaboration of stakeholders in national security initiatives while promoting knowledge and experience sharing. At an international level, NISA will engage and participate in international information sharing and capability building programs. NISA will contribute and participate in international and global events that aim to leverage the global policies, standards, and cooperation in the fields of cybersecurity. Knowing that these threats can also interrupt national critical functions and services or compromise sensitive government information, as well as corporate intellectual capital, NISA is also in the process of publishing the UAE Critical Information Infrastructure Protection Policy. This policy outlines the process of identifying, assessing, and protecting the critical information infrastructures that support these national critical services and functions. It also focuses on ensuring collaboration between the critical sector regulators, operators, and other participating stakeholders with the aim of continuous enhancement of the critical information infrastructure protection. In addition, the UAE is planning to issue and publish in the near future the UAE Information Assurance Standards that will provide entities and stakeholders in the UAE with more details and implementation guidance on the management and technical controls that define the minimum national requirement for information assurance. As mentioned, these policies and standards are currently in the finalization process, and we'll be happy to share further information and details about them during the upcoming conferences once they've been finalized. Thank you all for listening. I hope that our thoughts and aspirations from the UAE are not dissimilar to your own, and I look forward to listening to the rest of the talks and discussions. I'd also like to truly thank the Republic of Korea for hosting this important global conference. Let's all work together towards a safer cyberspace where global prosperity is able to trump latent digital divides. Thank you.
Thank you for your words, Executive Director of the National Electronic Security Authority of the UAE, Mr. Saif Rashid Abdullah Al Nuaimi. The last speaker of the session will be President and CEO of the Internet Society, or ISOC, Ms. Lynn Saint Amour. Please welcome her with a big round of applause.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. It's a great pleasure to be here, and I'd like to thank the Republic of Korea for this initiative and the very warm hospitality. The Internet has been the basis of one of the most amazing and exciting periods of transformation in history. As a boundless platform for human expression, creativity, and innovation, it has brought the world so much, economically and socially. Today, we have nearly 3 billion people online. However, we mustn't forget the 4.5 billion people who still are not able to fully enjoy the same access and resultant benefits. This is one of the greatest challenges we all face, to ensure that no one is left behind. While access is improving through investment in physical infrastructure, cheaper and more portable devices, and other technologies, there is still a very long way to go. A collective effort is necessary, and the Internet Society, with its more than 60,000 members and supporters and nearly 100 chapters worldwide, along with many other Internet community organizations, are working together to ensure that the fundamental principles of open, transparent, and decentralized collaboration continue to expand the Internet's global reach and fuel its growth, opportunity, and socioeconomic benefits. The Internet is for everyone, and we envision a world where everyone can connect to the Internet and have the opportunity to participate equally as Internet citizens, where everyone can benefit from applications and services built on open Internet standards and use the Internet freely for communication and commerce, and where everyone can participate in creating platforms, technologies, and content to help ensure local and global needs are all met. It is clear that the Internet can have a major impact in propelling emerging economies forward, and in turn, these emerging economies will have a major impact on the world as well as the future of the Internet. These economies are at the forefront of Internet growth. Many are also experiencing some of the fastest rates of GDP growth in the world and of young populations who are the digital natives of the future. These factors alone make them exciting consumers and creators for a wide range of Internet-enabled services and trade. Combine that with their rich diversity, and the possibilities are limitless. The Internet supports innovation without requiring permission. And I'm reminded of a young student in Nairobi, Wilfred Maworia, who, like many around the world, created an application in anticipation of the iPhone's release in 2008. Except that he used a software kit downloaded from the Internet, had never touched an iPhone, and this was at a time when the iPhone didn't even work in Nairobi. As new Internet users like Wilfred come online, they're quickly transitioning from consumers to creators, innovators, and producers, and they are taking advantage of the efficiencies and opportunities that access to the Internet offers. The digital content and applications developed in emerging markets do not just support skilled jobs and new infrastructure there, but are also exported for needed revenues. What is also important to remember is that the impact of the Internet in emerging economies is a benefit for all of us. As more and more people come online, the Internet will be transformed in ways that are hard to imagine, but that will certainly keep making it stronger. That is, of course, provided that new and existing users have the chance to access a global, open, interoperable Internet. Fostering this enabling environment requires multi-stakeholder cooperation, which we have seen work successfully in the areas of Internet policy, open technical standards, and development. The multi-stakeholder approach recognizes that various stakeholders, including civil society, private sector, academic and technical communities, and of course governments, all have responsibilities, expertise, and valuable know-how in determining how the Internet will evolve and be managed. In terms of development, we've seen the multi-stakeholder model work very successfully. Extensive work in the establishment and operation of Internet exchange points, or IXPs, demonstrates the value of collaboration among many actors, including Internet service providers, content providers, research networks, and many others to minimize traffic routing obstacles and costs. Research has proven the far-reaching benefits of establishing multi-stakeholder managed IXPs in emerging markets. And a study commissioned by the Internet Society found that IXPs enabled ISPs in Kenya and Nigeria to save millions of US dollars in telecommunication costs and to raise additional revenues. All this while simultaneously speeding up local data exchange and creating robust, self-supporting communities. The Internet Society is now applying a similar approach to help encourage the development of locally hosted content and services, again leveraging the multi-stakeholder model. The Internet is a story that is still unfolding. And the Internet Society believes that to ensure a sustainable open Internet, that the Internet must maintain its core characteristics of global reach and integrity, interoperable technical standards, permissionless innovation, open access, respect for fundamental human rights, such as privacy and freedom of expression for all, openness for business and economic progress, and a governance model based on open, transparent, collaborative, fair, inclusive structures, and of course, due process. Today we face many challenges. The challenge of finding appropriate solutions to important but difficult issues, the challenge of maintaining trust, the challenge of dealing with security and law enforcement objectives while preserving the key internet characteristics and users' rights, to name a few. The highly publicized, covert, government-sanctioned surveillance activities have highlighted new challenges to the internet, alarming challenges. Any actions, even those justified on the grounds of national security, that interfere with the privacy of its citizens and of other nations' citizens will hinder all our efforts, particularly those of the international community, to solve shared problems in cyberspace and beyond. If we want the internet to remain a driver of economic growth, it must remain a trusted channel for secure, reliable, private communication between users. Actions that undermine that trust also threaten to disrupt natural, economic, and social interactions that are the foundations for sustained global prosperity. It is perhaps worth recalling our comments at the Budapest Forum on cyberspace, where we outlined 4 possible scenarios for the internet. One was called the moats and drawbridges scenario, or balkanized internet, if you wish. Many of the ideas that are being promoted today in response to these surveillance issues are a reductive model with a focus on security, risk mitigation, and control through digital borders. This will come at the expense of economic and social prosperity and users' ability to fully exercise their human rights. Earlier this month, the leaders of organizations responsible for the management and coordination of the Internet's technical infrastructure met in Montevideo, Uruguay. They noted that the Internet and web were both built and governed in the public interest through unique mechanisms for global multi-stakeholder Internet cooperation, and that has been intrinsic to their success. We discussed the clear need to continually strengthen and evolve these mechanisms to be able to address emerging issues. In fact, this is why we refer to the Internet ecosystem. It is continually evolving. Specifically, in Uruguay, we reinforce the importance of globally coherent Internet operations and warned against Internet fragmentation at a national level. We express strong concern over the undermining of the trust and confidence of Internet users globally due to recent revelations of pervasive monitoring and surveillance. We identified the need for ongoing effort to address Internet governance challenges and agreed to catalyze community-wide efforts towards the evolution of global multi-stakeholder Internet cooperation. And in this, we look to continue on the excellent work done through the WSIS and look forward to the IGF in Bali, Indonesia next week. We also called for accelerating the globalization of ICANN and the IANA functions towards an environment in which all stakeholders, including all governments, participate in their respective expert roles. Now more than ever, it is imperative that the Internet community and the international community join forces to ensure that appropriate policies are collaboratively developed and fairly implemented, and that respectful or harmful policies are not pursued. The multi-stakeholder Internet governance principles that have come to define the Internet must be preserved and extended. The Internet has tremendous potential for economic and social good, but unless all stakeholders trust the Internet as a safe place for business, social interaction, academic inquiry, and self-expression, those economic and social benefits are all put to risk. In closing, it's exciting to think about the new energy, the new ideas, and the increased richness the Internet will have when we unleash the creativity of the billions yet to come online. The global Internet has always been shaped by its users. It is essential that it continues to be. Empowering every individual on this earth to fully participate in the Internet's evolution is critical to our collective well-being and to creating the best possible Internet and the best possible society. The internet has given us a view of humanity that no generation has ever experienced before. As a contributor to the world economy, the internet's impact is stunning. But we still have a long way to go before it is truly an internet for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you for your words, President and CEO of ISOC, Ms. Lynn St. Amour. And ladies and gentlemen, please give our keynote speakers another warm round of applause. Thank you. This marks the end of Plenary Session 2, entitled Beyond Digital Divide Towards Global Prosperity. Before we move on to our next session, which is entitled Strengthening Cross-Border Cooperation, we will now have a coffee break for 20 minutes. Coffee is ready to be served at the lobby. After the coffee break, please return to your seats by 15:20. Thank you.